Ready. All right, we are operational. Hey, everybody, welcome. It is Sunday, April 7th, and you are listening to the next installment from the Republic Room with Mason and Jester. John, where do you want to take us this afternoon? Nobody wants to take me anywhere?
Oh,
I'm asking for a ride. Where are you guys taking me?
Well, first of all, I thought you'd take up like more time and then I'd have a minute to. Never mind. You don't want to know what I was doing. Anyway, this is going to be another blooper reel if we don't watch out.
Wing it.
Last time we had some. I'm going to try to recoup this. Last time we had some discussions. We have questions on the discussions that we had the last time. We're liking to dive into that a little more deeply this time. Mason's going to give us a little bit more information on Amendment 10, and then we're going to zip over to the subject side of things on our mind map here, and we're going to go to the 14th Amendment, which he says he's going to need about a day and a half for. But we're going to have to close that down at 20 minutes. So hopefully we can condense this into a scenario that makes sense for everybody, but also gives you the maximum amount of information that we can possibly, give you. This thing's been rolling around in my head. If anybody here has looked at the whole thing, you'll see that it's a tremendous amount of information. So this is the basic understanding that I have of the whole situation. And, if you haven't taken time to even dive into the scenario that exists within this USA versus US.info, then I encourage you to do that, because you're just not going to get there with what we're saying on the thing. You have to do a little bit of studying on your own. All right. And we encourage that, of course, because that usually brings questions, and questions are a good thing for everybody. So, but anyway, Mason, let's clean up the mess we made last time with the two scenarios here, sovereigns versus subjects. Okay.
Okay. Well, we want to start off with this amendment process. We got to go to the Constitution, and that's where most of the information starts. And the 5th article in that Constitution talks about the amendment period. That's the only place in the Constitution where you can get a starting point. From there, you got to go into the Federalist Papers, and I'm not going to jump back and forth. I just want to give you some understanding about the amendments as it's listed in this list. And the first one they show here on this left side is Amendment 10. Now, that's probably the most important one in the amendments to start with, because it's the thing that tells Congress, but you guys, if it's not here, if you can't find your authority in this document, in this Article 1 in that area, then you don't have it. And that's the kind of the beginning and the end of the story. Well, what Congress has done is they have overextended themselves intentionally in so many different areas. I'm not going to get on in all of them on this call, but that limitation right there says, for instance, you can't amend this Constitution because, first of all, the word amend in the original document doesn't just mean to alter, change, or fix, or do something that you like. You've got to put out, and this is according to Madison in the Federalist 48. He specifically lists this specific thing. You got to put down a list of errors that you want to fix or correct, and you got to list them. You can't just talk about it and say, "Oh, well, maybe we will or won't." And then those errors are supposed to be identifying the place in the Constitution that was wrong. The founders made a mistake. Not one single amendment, except for half-heartedly the Bill of Rights, has ever shown why they needed to be put in and what they fixed in the Constitution. Not one. So you want to start with 11 and go on down, but the 14th, it's the thing that talks about the citizenship again, and it's the one thing it didn't create the amended the alteration to our Constitution. That started with the 11th. So I want to get that clear with everybody in their head. You got to understand where the 11th came from and why they did it. And that was the first hit on the sovereignty of the people in this nation. That was it. So if we jump down to the 14th, it didn't have any authority either. None. Zero. Neither did any of the rest from 11 on, because they didn't fix something. They kept changing it for themselves to get their hooks deeper and deeper into the people. And if you don't get this part of it, it kind of leaves a can of worms open that most people aren't going to find a place of beginning or ending. It's just floating all over the place. So the reason we started...
Hang on a second. Just to clarify something, just want to make sure, because I want to make sure everybody understands this very salient point that you've just made. The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit or law in equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States citizens of another state, or by citizens or subject of any foreign state. And that's the 11th Amendment. This is kind of huge in a way. You know what I mean?
Bigger than huge. Yes. And I'll give you huge. I can give you the clarity here.
Okay, that's what I was hoping. Thank you for you handle it.
Now I can take you back in the list of boxes here. There's a case cited, Chisholm versus Georgia, and that was written in 1793. Okay, and that case is the lead case when it comes to the sovereignty of the people and their power and what they have the authority to do in this system, which is not limited, because we are the sovereign. And so the court, and I wrote a whole treatise on that case and all the stuff that went on there. And it leads to another part, which is 11 years after that Chisholm case. Once the Supreme Court said the citizen of a state has the right and the power to sue a state in the Supreme Court in an original jurisdiction action, specific. It didn't mince words. And after that case was finalized, and by the way, Georgia, they defaulted Georgia because Georgia didn't want to respond, because they thought, oh, if we enter the case, they'll have jurisdiction. No, you don't get it. They had jurisdiction already. You just don't know it. And the Constitution gives the Supreme Court jurisdiction in Article 3. It says it right there, where a state's a party. The first Congress, they went over that. And they talked about it, but they didn't clarify it. And the next case that came up that challenged the 11th Amendment was a case called Hollingsworth versus Virginia, 11 years later. And for those of you who remember the word Jesuit, that's listed in that number 40 Federalists, okay? Those guys, I went and researched all the judges that were on that court, Hollingsworth, and every one of them was a member of that group. So the question that came up by the Attorney General, who was also one of that group, was, is it a fact that because the president didn't sign the amendment, did that invalidate the 11th Amendment? And that Hollingsworth case answered the question specific with one answer, no. So they created the presumption with that one word that the 11th Amendment was a valid amendment, and never, ever addressed the specifics in Madison 48 about the errors and the list. And what they did was they took away the sovereign power of the citizen of the state to bring an original action in the Supreme Court against the state. So if you want to look deep enough into this system, you can start right with that one and read that case thoroughly. And then you're going to find out from there. Now we can go to the 12th Amendment. That was where the freeholder thing got washed away. The 13th, you know what that was about? Supposedly slavery. Well, there was no subjects in this country, except for it was property. It wasn't about people. And that's the Civil War is another whole thing. I don't want to go there. So what you're looking at now is you're looking at an amendment process that's been jaded from its very first time with the 11th Amendment. And from there, that's when they created this second, if you want to call it, amended Constitution, this Constitution of the United States rather than 4. So that's where the really bad stuff begins. So if you want to read that case, that'll help you get a better understanding. Now, Bob, geez, I'm sorry, Jester. Are you still there?
I am.
Okay. Do I need to give you any more clarity than I just gave you on that particular?
That was pretty killer. That was pretty killer, by the way. I think what people might be starting to see is the difference on what was done after the fact to the good things that our founding fathers tried to do for us. And these amendments and whatnot, quite frankly, came in after the fact, weren't necessarily in our best interest. Right?
I'll give you one. Let me give you one little piece of this. Hamilton made a pretty interesting point about all the amendments. His comment was, guys, look, we don't need a Bill of Rights. We know who we are, and
right.
the government only has authority based on what we give them the authority to do. So why give them something else to talk about? Why give them something to debate? Why give them something to bring into light when they don't have the authority to do it? Period. So if you can't follow his lead on that, the amendment's specific. If you can't find an error, and by the way, that Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary is very pointed on this word, error. And it tells you right up front. And it's a deviation from the truth. That's what the word error is defined as. And when you understand that, it's like, wait a minute. If the truth is that the people were sovereign, how can you change that? You got to be another revolution? Yeah, I guess so. And that's kind of what's happened, but it's happened behind the scenes and nobody could see what was going on. So, and that's also...
United States of America is a bunch of wusses, and they're not going to do it for themselves. They got to have somebody to do it for them.
Exactly.
Right?
And one more very important point here about the word error is that writ of error, which was part and parcel in Article 3, the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction in law and equity. The law word is the error side of the error that would take place in a case where your life, your liberty, your property had been damaged, lost, or whatever. That was the writ. And it wasn't a permissive writ. It was a mandate on the Supreme Court. They had to take it. And that's why all the original cases in our history deal with that writ. And then all of a sudden, they kind of washed it under the rug. And I know about that personally because I had personal dealings with it. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Unless you want me to enhance that.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah. And that was where I was going up against the big boys. So there you go.
Right. And, you've done a lot of that, quite frankly. And there's a lot of, I wish we could tell you guys all the stories because the stories are actually quite interesting. And we may get to that point at some point in time, Mason.
Yeah. I don't see it's necessary only from the standpoint that I know their system is dying and I know it's about to go down. And so pretty much everything we're trying to give people right now is like a heads up on, well, what would you do if that wasn't around anyway? How would you act? Oh, man.
What would you be?
Can of worms.
A bigger thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to take a minute to understand this, and the ones that do the best with it are the ones that know what the hell's going on ahead of time. And that's what we're trying to do, folks, here. All right? If you have any kind of freaking clue what's going on ahead of time, then when this goes down, you're going to be in a better position to deal with it. Now, we got all kinds of people out there. I was on the Saturday Night Live call last night, and if I could tell you guys, if you want to be in a good place to get something done for yourself, you better start trying to figure this out right here, because this is going to do you a lot better than all the bullshit that went down on that call last night, just so you know. Mason, if I had to say, okay, let's go here. The people are sovereign, right? We know this. And the question is, we're liking to get back to that point. Now, it's going to get done to us to a certain extent automatically with the USD, right?
Right.
So when that comes about, the fact of the matter is, everybody's going to be going like scratching their head, wondering what the hell happened, because we don't understand, Treasury direct accounts and things like that. And we're going to get there, guys. We will get there. There's so much information here that we got to tell you. It's going to take a minute. We like to know if you guys are out there. Quite frankly, we like to know if you guys are out there and are interested in what we're trying to achieve here. We're going to keep moving along, and we hope we grab a bunch of people along the way. But if we don't start seeing some interaction, we're going to wonder if we're getting into anybody. So that's going to be up to Elephant to get this in the room, and hopefully we have some questions out there. And we'd like to know what you guys like to know, because I know we're probably moving fast. But here's the thing, guys: reference back to the website, reference back there, and do a little studying. It's not, well, that's bullshit. It's difficult. I'm not gonna lie. I've been dealing with. It is time consuming. That's correct. You're gonna have to put some time into this if you want to really know the answer. But this whole scenario that we put in front of you here with this website is the thing that I've been following for 15 years now, and it's got me where I am. And there's all kinds of things out there. Now there's, but start here, do a little studying, read this thing a little bit, and you're going to start getting a little bit of an understanding of what's going on. Okay. We've been here for, I don't know what, 15, 20 minutes. So probably we don't need to go any further at this time, Mason. We'll hit up on a new topic next week. Maybe we'll hit up on the sovereigns. I know we talked about the birth certificates. I think we did a pretty good job on that last time. So maybe we don't need to revisit that. Maybe we'll zip on down into, legal names, judicial names, and maintaining your sovereignty and getting to that point. We don't like to be enemies of the U.S. by note. So let's go into that next. For now, I think we've done enough. The Elephant, are you on the same page, or where do you think? You want us to move forward, or you like to take a break?
No, I think that's enough information, and I think we're good to go.
Point.
So I was just thinking. Yeah, go ahead, Mason.
We need to, maybe not this call, but that 14th Amendment thing needs to be addressed openly and honestly, so everybody gets a really good, solid understanding about what that thing does and why it was put there. So I'm just going to leave that alone.
We were hoping to do tonight, but you don't need to leave it alone if we're not done with it. If we're not done,
then let me hit it.
Then hit it.
Okay.
Hit it now.
This amendment was created to reverse the status of citizenship in this country. It reversed the state citizen with the U.S. citizen. It put them in opposite positions, and it was specifically created dealing with a particular ethnic group in our country. And I can't help but this is a fact. And the people of color in this country all came within the jurisdiction specific of the U.S. government with that amendment and that stinking Emancipation Proclamation of Lincoln. He didn't set the people free. He put them underneath the cloak of authority that was the admiralty side of our system. That's what he did. So, in order to get clarity here, if whatever family you might be living in, and you find yourself in a situation where you need to get permission from the dominant group, and I'm not trying to sound like anybody's more important than another. Okay, I'm just talking about the status and the level of the person. If you're in this family and you want to move into an equal position with those who are telling everybody what they can or can't do, or address your rights in that family, you need to get permission from the ones who started it. And that never happened. It never happened. But what did happen is that one of the people who were involved in that whole crock of stuff went to one of our Supreme Court justices, Marshall, and asked him specific, what can I do to get my people in the same situation as you and your people? And this was his question to Marshall. And Marshall very simply said, there's no problem. He said, here's our Constitution. Take it and find you a place where you can call your home and execute it according to you and your group. And that's exactly what he did. And if you go to Liberia and look up Liberia, and I mentioned this in the other call, around the 1847 time period, and look at their original constitution, you're going to think you're reading ours. The only difference is they put in the right words governing their people in that document, which ours didn't. It kind of left it floating out there for everybody to have to figure it out. And that's why there's so many people, they don't get it. They say, oh yeah, we're one of the people. No, you're not. You got to do your own research in this. And I'm not trying to divide lines here. I'm trying to bring people together, because until the people from two different sovereignties can look at each other and say, hey, look, we're co-equals in this planet thing. Yeah, well, let's act like it. Quit acting like a bunch of little kids crying because, hey, you didn't give me my milk. You know, that's what's happened here. And so I just want to get some clarity with respect to this. So all you people on this call, take a little time, look at that Liberian document, and you're going to get a whole different feel for where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to give to everybody. Did I lose you?
I'm here. I'm sorry. I got sidetracked there and I couldn't get unmuted.
Oh, that's okay.
It's okay. Well, I think it's a good thing. I mean, this is the whole thing is about everybody knowing where they're at and what has been done, right? That's what we're trying to
divide and conquer. Divide and conquer.
Right. So
if I can't stand next to my black brother and look him in the eye and say, hey, buddy, we're on the same page here. Let me see if I can help you come up into the political status that we've acquired without creating another civil war. It's ridiculous. And that's kind of where we're at. This needs to happen.
Well, they fostered that whole scenario all along the way. It is what it is, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, thanks for bringing that part up, and thanks for going further in that. Is that pretty much?
Oh well, let me give you one more little piece, quickie.
Go ahead.
The marriage license. People don't get this. Now remember, license defined is permission to do something that would otherwise be illegal or unlawful. That's the definition of the word. Now, is getting married illegal or unlawful in the eyes of God? No. Do you need permission to do it? No. Well, then why do you got to go get a license to do it? Well, I'll tell you why. Because in this country, and I don't have the date in my head, but I think it was somewhere in the early 1800s, some brainiac said, well, you know what? We got to keep track of all these intermarriages, interrelationships between two different groups. You know what I'm talking about. And so they said, oh, yeah, we can do that, and we can keep track of all their offspring with the birth certificate stuff. Oh, okay. Well, here we go. They got us all ID'd. They gave us a birth certificate telling who our mom and, not our dad necessarily, but our mom, and what ethnicity we were. And then when you went to get married, you had to go get another license, and that's where all of these hooks started. And then, of course, you know about the social and all the rest of it. So just to make this clear so you guys know, that license is the hook.
Well, plus I'd like to make some money, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, every bit of it. That's where their parens patrie principle came into being.
Right.
The state's your mother. Baloney.
The whole thing was designed to keep you in captivity.
Exactly, all of us, not just some of us. We were all there already.
True.
So.
Okay. You got anything else to add? Because otherwise, I think we're getting on our time limit, and I might have fell asleep by now. I don't know.
I apologize, and I'll call it quits for now.
Good stuff. It's exactly
No.
Elvin, are we on the right track here? I'm just asking you if we're on the right track here. Is this what the people like to hear?
Yeah, you guys are amazing. And that little extra tidbit, Mason, really kind of tied everything together. So I just wanted to ask a quick question. Do you think it would be helpful if I posted the Article 5 and the Amendment 14 in the chat so people can have a reference, and then also
absolutely.
the Liberian Constitution? Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
that'd
good.
be
I'll
beautiful.
do that. All right. Okay, I'll do
But
that
don't
after
forget-
the call.
Don't
And-
forget the.
Yeah.
Article 10, though.
That's already, well, that's
Say
in
that
the
again?
document. I mean, yeah, you can put that in. But I'm thinking about the Madison number 48, which he explains specific about the amendment process.
That is a good thing, too.
Okay. Madison 48, got it. Okay.
If you have a hard time,
Well, that was so.
let us know and we'll get it to you. No kidding, okay?
Yeah.
All right, that sounds amazing. Well, another great addition. I thank you both so much. And I look forward to the next time we can get together and you guys can share all of your knowledge with the rest of us. But I think this was a great, enlightening call with a boatload of information. So we will see you guys next time. We'll probably drop another call on Thursday. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. Any questions, reach out to me in any of the chats, in the living room, in the Q&A room, and I'll be sure and get your questions posted into the Republic room. What's up, Mason?
And don't be surprised if you wake up some morning and somebody says, "Guess what? This 3-letter monster just died."
Isn't that the truth?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be
It will be.
amazing.
Here's another thing, too, just as I was thinking, it'd be nice to know if people are getting what we're laying down here. It'd be nice to know if there's people out there, I mean, a thumbs up or a, hey, you guys are doing good or whatever, because we're not getting a lot of feedback on what we're doing here, and that that doesn't mean nobody's looking. It just means nobody's saying anything. It'd be nice to know if what we're doing here is worth doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, if we can open up the room so that people can comment, that may give us a good, maybe we could take a better temperature of the room and where folks are at. So
I'll tell you what I'll do.
and maybe we can do that.
I'll make time available on a specific time frame. There's no way that we can monitor the 12 hours that you guys are open and close on the other deals. We just can't do it. He's busy. I'm busy. We just can't do that. But if there was a venue, and we'll talk about this at some point in time, if there was a venue where people could do that and we could interact on a scenario, I'd be okay with that. But it's going to have to be a limited deal. Okay.
Right.
Maybe we do a live call.
I mean,
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, we could do that, but what I was thinking is that, whenever I have a couple hours, I can open up the room and just make an announcement like, hey, we're here for any questions at the moment, post them in the chat. And then, after a couple hours, I can shut it down and then, we can kind of go from there. So,
well, if you let us know when that is, try to be supportive of that scenario.
All right.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. This is a good thing. All right. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, gentlemen, and I'm looking forward to all of this taking off. And I know I'm absorbing so much, and I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I will talk with you soon.
Okay.
Night.
Thank you.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.